Hello and welcome into another edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Jesse Morrison and Mitch Reldis. I'm Jeremy Schnell. Emergency pod. Pew, pew,
Emergency!
Pew, pew. You know what that means. We have a quarterback, guys. Jaden Rashada. Jesse, can you believe it?
No, I actually can't, because I wanted Trenton Bourguet to be the starting quarterback for Arizona State. When I was out at practice, he looked like the better quarterback to me. Yes, a little bit less arm strength, but to me, he looked like the better quarterback. However, this guy, Jaden Rashada, is a super highly rated recruit, one of the top quarterbacks that ASU's ever gotten. So, I don't like to buy into the hype until, prove it rook, like Wolf likes to say. But I am super excited to watch this game against Southern Utah, which I wasn't necessarily as excited to watch before this news. Like, I'm more excited for this than I would be for Trenton, but Trenton made more sense to me, kind of thing.
Well, it's funny you describe it that way, but we're going back to the same central themes that we talked about last week, right? What does Trenton Bourguet have that Jaden Rashada we haven't necessarily seen yet? It's the smart playmaking, read the defense ability that Jaden, he's eventually going to have that. Let me make that clear. Jaden Rashada is going to have that ability. He does not have it at the strength that Trenton Bourguet does right now. But what does Jaden Rashada have that Trenton Bourguet doesn't? To your point, Jesse, it is very much about that big playability, and I keep thinking back to something that Chris Karpman pointed out when he joined Burns and Gamble earlier today.
Shameless plug. 2 to 6 every day on Arizona Sports, the local sports leader.
Thank you for that. Let me just turn all the audio off there. He mentioned how this is quite the juggernaut of a conference when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, outside of Rashada, you have Caleb Williams at USC. You have Michael Penix Jr. at Washington. You have Bo Nix at Oregon. I could go on. But there's literally half of the conference is carried by the quarterback play. And you need to be up to speed with the rest of the conference, albeit while it's collapsing. But it's a big year, especially if you're quarterbacks.
Jesse would have said the same thing. He would have made the same point even if Trenton Bourguet were starting, though, because he believes that Trenton was the guy all along. I will say I did say last week on our podcast that I wanted Trenton Bourguet to start. I think he was the safe option here. But I like that they're going with Rashada. Now, to me, Mitch, you, Jesse, and our former co-host Jake Anderson, we were all out at the spring game.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of throws, not a lot of great throws from both Rashada and Pyne in that game. It was all Bourguet. Obviously, something has changed in that time period from when we saw Rashada. Obviously, I think it was like 2 weeks he had been on campus. So he was a high schooler.
I was going to bring that up, is that he had not had a lot of time because the news came down in early February that Rashada was going to choose Arizona State as his place to be. So it was something else that Kenny Dillingham said last week, that Rashada hadn't earned those opportunities to be with the 1s or the 2s, like start with the 3s, and even if the 4s, even if you go that low in the depth chart. And now we've seen the progression. We understand what he has become and how valuable of a piece he's going to be, Jesse, for this ASU offense.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to Jeremy's point, what I wanted to respond to was maybe he hasn't grown that much, but the offensive line is going to be such a liability that they've got to have a guy that can escape from the pocket and get out and run. And this was their only option. Even though Trenton has some wheels, this guy was a top, 5 rated dual threat quarterback. So I just don't think that, I think that might have been the reason why they made this decision, but I don't, they would never say that to us or anything. That's just an opinion that I have.
And we're expecting to hear from Kenny Dillingham tomorrow. The quarterbacks are not supposed to speak tomorrow, but I would be surprised if we don't hear from at least Trenton Bourguet. The guy was a captain last year at times. He was able to go out on the field before the coin toss. He led the team up and down the field on numerous occasions. So I'd be surprised if we don't hear from Trenton tomorrow, honestly.
I'd be more surprised if we did, only because this I don't know that you necessarily want to throw him out there with this news. I mean, I get it. He
He's
understands
very
the
well
position he's
spoken
in.
is the
Yeah,
thing. Like he's gonna be a senior.
I understand all that,
yeah.
but tomorrow needs to be about Jaden. Tomorrow doesn't need
Yeah.
to be about Trenton. How does it feel? Blah. What's your support level for Jaden going to be? Et cetera, et cetera. That's not what tomorrow's about. I want to hear from Kenny Dillingham confirming the news that several reports have confirmed what Gamble put out there way earlier today. But I also want to hear from Jaden. I also want to hear what he has to say about earning this job that was hotly contested leading up to this point, Jesse.
Yeah, I also want to point out, though, that as Gambo has said multiple times, Gambo was the one that reported this. We got this first, so shout out Gambo for getting Arizona sports the news.
The scoop.
The scoop. Yeah, Arizona sports got the scoop. But he said that, this is the starting quarterback for week one. Jaden Rashada is the starting quarterback for week one. Trenton Bourguet could still be the starting quarterback at some point this season. If Rashada struggles, Drew Pyne could still be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
If they thought that Pyne was better than Bourguet before Pyne went down. So, who knows? This is kind of like, yes, there's a quarterback news, but asterisk, something like that.
Yeah, and obviously Pyne does have to rehab this injury, but I would not be surprised if we see all three quarterbacks this year. Again, I go back to the point that I made last week. This team, while not going to be as bad as we saw last year, they're going to struggle at times this year, right? And Jesse, to your point, the offensive line, probably the weakest link on the team at this point. We could see someone, step up this season and maybe surprise us a little bit. But unfortunately, it's going to get to a point where we're going to, a quarterback's going to take a sack and maybe he's going to be struggling out there, not going to be able to move the offense a little bit. Maybe throw Trenton Bourguet or Drew Pyne in there, or at, whoever's starting, you want to get a spark on the offense. That's going to happen along these lines this season. So I think we will see all three quarterbacks at some point.
Okay, maybe we will. I don't know if I want that necessarily.
I want whatever starting quarterback to start all season and be amazing and be great.
Exactly.
I want to be the best quarterback that Arizona State has ever had. That is my hope.
Here's the thing.
Wait, hold on. Do you think he'll be the best number 5 that's ever come to Arizona State,
gosh.
Jesse?
So just some inside baseball here, kind of. I am not with the guys in person. I'm at my second job, and so
Respect the hustle.
I have to go back to said second job in like 30 seconds. So that is really what I wanted to touch on before I left, is why so many number 5s? There's Daniels was number 5. Last year there was a number 5.
Emory Jones, Manny Wilkins. Like, it goes back way longer than we think it does.
Hey, Taylor Kelly was 10 though.
Right. And Burko was 2, but Manny Wilkins, that was like half decade ago.
Again, though, Taylor Kelly, what's 5 times 2? 10.
Oh, okay. All right. Now you're stretching it a little too much.
Everything is about the number 5, except for Trenton, who started a little bit, who was number 16. So yeah, why are there so many number 5s? I'm just very confused. I want to ask Kenny if there's something about that number 5 for an ASU player, and if that leads to the starting quarterback position.
Okay, but hold on now. 1 minus 6 is -5. If you want to think of it in that way for Trenton. No, was that bad?
Yeah.
Jeremy is literally statuesque.
Yeah.
I knew you would hate that.
I don't know. I did not like that. Jesse, we appreciate your insight. And we hope you have a good rest of your day. And we'll look forward to getting your thoughts preseason before the first game next week.
Have fun talking about depth chart stuff.
Bye. Thanks again to Jesse for joining us. He works really hard, and we really appreciate him, especially on a day like this where things go haywire. He was actually on Wolf and Luke, producing the show, helping produce that show.
When the news broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, can you get this? Can you do that? Can you... Like I was like, yes, of course, whatever you need, because this was huge news and we wanted to get it out as soon as possible. But, duty calls, making sure that, Gambo's
Sauces.
get out there and are ready to roll. And we got some of those details and stuff out there. But I also want to touch more on Mitch, as we can take these headphones off because we don't have to listen to Jesse's voice anymore.
Video's going to be great.
I do want to talk about a little bit, like, inside of what your thought process is here. What are you thinking in terms of what's going to happen as the season rolls on?
Well, that's just it. Remember when you threw out the likely possibility, it is likely, I will admit, that Jaden Rashada is not going to be the only quarterback that is throwing a football for ASU this year. I find that possibility extremely likely. I don't want that, though. I really don't.
Well, he's going to be handing the ball off a little
bit. Here's what I mean. And to go back to what Jesse was saying before he had to hop off, you made him the starter. The only situation that I would have wanted where ASU is cycling through quarterbacks throughout the year is if Jaden was not named the initial starter for week 1. In this exact scenario, where Jaden Rashada is the presumed starting quarterback for week 1, and perhaps the rest of the season, who knows? I don't want to see him taken out because he is the quarterback that's most likely going to be carrying this team into the Big 12 next year. This is the guy that's likely to be here for the next several years. This is the guy that will have to go through some of those growing pains to get to that level that we all anticipate him to be at. So I don't want to go through a cycle of, oh, well, we like the matchup for Trenton better, or we're going to switch in Drew Pyne because he has that big game experience. No. You choosing Jaden, you're trusting that Jaden is going to continue to progress at this rate and be the next great Arizona State quarterback.
I'm going to ask you the question. I already know my answer. I'm going to ask you the question that we all have been thinking about.
Yeah.
Was this NIL motivated?
I don't think so. I genuinely think that Kenny Dillingham doesn't care as much about the NIL as he puts it out there to be. He puts it out there because he wants his players to get paid. Of course he does. This is a new market. He wants the players to get what they deserve, and what the players deserve, get, etc. But Kenny Dillingham's also a football coach. He doesn't make his decisions based off how much some dude is getting paid. It's not the NFL. This is college, right? Even before NIL existed, this is not a place where you determine things based off of wealth or merit, or it is based off merit. You don't base it off of exactly. You don't base it off of the monetary gain, right? Yes, there will be benefit of Rashada being the day one starter, but it's also because his football acumen is off the charts compared to the rest of this crew.
Here's why I think a little bit of it is. If he does not start this year and gets limited playing time, what makes him, besides the fact that he likes Kenny Dillingham seemingly,
what motivates him to stay here?
What motivates him besides that he likes Kenny Dillingham and his father went here?
Sure. Look, he's already gone through it once where he thought the NIL, the name, image, and likeness deal was coming to him, right? It's a cautionary tale, basically. I was rereading about it before we hopped on today. Is he willing to risk going through that again if he has a really good experience here? And it makes it so tricky, too, because the conference realignment that's going to happen next year, you don't know where ASU is going to stack up with any of the other 15 teams that they're going to be facing next year. This doesn't really give you a good idea going against all these Pac-12 schools. It doesn't give you a good gauge of how good you're going to be next year when you face 12 new teams that you didn't face this past year.
It's going to be interesting to see, for sure. I just want to know where Drew Pyne fits into all of this.
I'm curious where he was on the depth chart before he got hurt.
That's the wild card, though, right?
Do you think he could have been the day one starter if he didn't get hurt? That's kind of what I've been thinking about a lot.
Not from what we've heard and seen from camp, right?
Sure.
A lot of people that I've seen reporting about this, our friend Jesse, he's been at practice a couple times. Our good friend Wills Rice, who works here at Arizona Sports, writes about both Arizona Sports and on KTAR News. He's been at practice a couple times. both of them said it seemed like it was between Bourguet and Rashada.
It just feels like the Rashada name wasn't thrown out nearly as much until about a month ago or so.
Right.
Because his growing pains at the beginning were very evident. Like, we go all the way back to the spring game. That was the first time really fans got a good look at what Jaden Rashada could have been. And he didn't get the best reps. He didn't get the most reps. And all of a sudden, he's excelled to the point that he's going to be leading the charge for this offense a week from now.
We didn't give him the benefit of the doubt, though. That was 1 week, 2 weeks into his time at ASU.
But we should have, though.
Right,
Because
exactly.
he's the flashy pick. He was the big name, 4-star recruit that Kenny Dillingham brought in this offseason. We should have given it more credence, and we didn't. And that's, you can fault us however you want to look at it, but
it just seemed like it was Bourguet's job to lose, and apparently,
he lost it.
As of right now, he's lost it. But
phrasing, it could be different.
Right.
He lost it.
As Gambo has reported, this is just for this week for now. If Rashada comes out, plays really well, and honestly, I would not be surprised if they are up by a lot in the first game of the season against Southern Utah, if we do see Bourguet. But
that's because they're up by a lot,
right?
That's because you want to save Rashada for Oklahoma State, who's coming in the very next week.
But if they struggle, either way, I think we're going to see Bourguet next week.
I'd be okay with seeing them struggle against Southern Utah than Oklahoma State. But, I mean, of course, every fan would. In the end, I think this is a good decision. This is a great decision, I should say. And I think it's going to keep ASU relevant early in the season. I don't know how the non-conference is going to go. They'll probably beat Southern Utah next Thursday. Oklahoma State, who knows? Mike Gundy's got a great program. Fresno State, who knows? That's a great program over there in the Mountain West Conference. It'll be very interesting to see how this first stretch of games changes the course, if so, for Kenny Dillingham. Because I don't think he wants to keep going through this song and dance every single week.
No.
He just wants one guy, throw him out there, let him do his job.
You would hope there will be a point in the season where he goes, this is our starter for the remainder of the season.
Yep.
I mean, we've seen that from different teams before where it's like, we're going to take it week to week, and Nick Saban, the whole thing that happened with Tua and Jalen Hurts is very well documented. But you would hope that that doesn't happen here. Number one, because Drew Pyne and Trenton Bourguet are human and in this scenario. And Trenton Bourguet, he got his shot last year, right? Like, that was his first shot. He'd been here for a while. He's stuck with it. He loves ASU. Like, he's one of those guys like Remy Martin, right? That loves ASU and doesn't want to go anywhere. Remy Martin ended up going somewhere at the end. But
almost.
But Remy had chances to leave before he ended up going.
Sure.
Right. So, like, it seems that he had opportunities to go elsewhere and be a starter, right? And he stuck it out here because he likes ASU. So you got to feel for him a little bit, right?
Of course I feel for him. I feel for Drew Pyne, too, who basically got ruled out of the quarterback competition because of an injury that happens as a result of playing the game that he wants to play for probably the rest of his life. Who knows? And it also sucks because this is their last year of eligibility for the both of them. Who knows? But in the moment, I'm very optimistic about what Jaden Rashada is going to show Sun Devil fans and Sun Devil faithful next week.
I believe Pyne has 2 more years of eligibility. Let's slow down there.
Did I get that wrong?
He might be a redshirt junior, actually, so you might be...
Well, we'll have to double-check that.
Yeah.
But for now, the true freshman, that much I know, the true freshman is going to get his big shot.
Let's look ahead a little bit.
Okay.
What we got practice tomorrow. We got practice all throughout this weekend into next week.
They're doing game script on Friday, too.
In terms of, all the video that you're going to see coming out of practice, what do you want to see from Rashada exclusively working with the one seemingly the next week?
Can he read the defense okay? I think that'll be the biggest thing. Like, we know how talented of a passer he is. We know how much of a threat his legs can be. He reminds me a lot of Jaden Daniels, right? The last time that they got an awesome dual threat, highly rated quarterback out of California to come to Arizona State, it was very, very promising in year one, and then everything went off the rails for multiple different reasons. Not entirely Jaden's fault, because, look at Jaden. He did great for LSU last year, and he's the second favorite for the Heisman this upcoming season. So clearly Jaden was not the issue there.
All I want to say is what I want to see from Rashada, and I'm going to practice tomorrow, so I hope to see a little bit of this. I want to see him command the huddle a little bit. And I know that's so cliche, but I want to see the leader.
How's the leadership? Yeah.
Right. He's young. He's like
18.
Yeah. He was 17 when he got to campus. How is he commanding that huddle?
Yep.
It seems like the guys all respect him and like him and want him to succeed, obviously, but
Chris Cartman of Sun Devil Source was saying earlier with Burns and Gambo that the players actually get excited when they see him come out because they know that they might have a shot at something cool, like a deep 50-yard bomb down the field, stuff like that. I think the guys are going to very much warm up to Rashada in the huddle.
all I want to see is he that leader, even at 18 years old, that's going to lead ASU for the next 3 or 4 years.
Can you translate what Kenny Dillingham wants to accomplish, not only on the field, but with the people that you're working with?
And activate the Valley.
Hashtag activate the Valley. Forks up.
Last thing that I will say, and I was talking to Jesse about this off the air the other day, in terms of Trenton, we obviously thought Trenton was going to be the guy, me and him.
We assumed, yeah.
I was talking to Jesse about this. If Jaden was named the starter, I said that I would be ecstatic and really excited, but I would be very surprised. So today I am very surprised, but very excited, but also very sad at the same time for Trenton
It's a
Bourguet.
tough emotional day.
So there's a lot of thoughts and things that go into this for numerous reasons. If you're a Sun Devil, obviously you're very excited. There was an email that went out, I believe either today or yesterday, that Sun Devil season ticket holders will get 2 extra tickets to the opening game against Southern Utah to give to friends of their choice.
I like that.
So
I got to find my Sun Devil season ticket holder friends.
yeah, so make sure to talk to some of your friends if you have any Sun Devil season ticket holder friends, and show up and cheer on the Sun Devils in the first game against Southern Utah next Thursday.
Okay, that's a great thing to bring up right now. You want to show that you're supporting this move by ASU. You want to show that you're supporting everything that Kenny Dillingham's doing. You want to show your support for Jaden Rashada being this true freshman starting quarterback in one of the deeper quarterback conferences in college football. Go to this game next Thursday. I don't care that it's against Southern Utah. It's the home opener. It's Jaden Rashada. It's Kenny Dillingham. Activate the bleeping Valley. Let's go. Go to the game.
I think we will see a lot more fans than we have in
I
the
hope
past
so.
for first game of the season.
Don't just come for the Oklahoma State game. I know that's a big game. Come for the Southern Utah game too. Come to them all. If you really want to show your support, go to this first one next Thursday.
That's a great way to end it, Mitch. Thank you so much for joining us here on State of the Sun Devils. Thanks to Jesse for joining us over Zoom today, whatever you want to call it. We appreciate
Trademarked.
Yeah,
Zoomed.
we appreciate it. Thanks so much to Mitch. For him, I'm Jeremy Schnell, and we'll talk to you soon.